Nankuthami Mbongo Mbuyisa uNqaleza uNdima usondisa umvemnyama osaloko manzana kokhumalo komtungwa komdletshe ngalomazwi ndithi welcome to the state of the arts with Uthami Akambongo. In this show we cover what is happening around the cultural and creative industry in South Africa and abroad. And today we are speaking the Red on the Rainbow. It's a theatre production directed by Monageng Vice Motshabi, who is the Standard Bank Young Artist Award winner for Theatre 2017. This play first made its South African premiere at the Soweto Theatre as part of the Arts Alive Johannesburg International Arts Festival that was happening from 18 to 21 November 2021. And then the play was then presented at the South African State Theatre from 7 to 27 March. It also was performed at Chika Performing Arts College in Botshabelo, which is in Free State, and then it went to the Northern Cape Theatre, who are doing amazing things. Currently the play is running at the Market Theatre, which started from 20 to May 1st, if I'm not mistaken, at the Market Theatre. This hard-hitting play is written and directed by award-winning theatre maker Monageng Vice Motshabi, who is not new in the theatre industry. We'll get to speak to him and find out more about the play. This play raises question about how far we've come from the actual Sharpeville Day. Has something changed in terms of how of refusing to recognize the humanity of black people that was widely accepted by white people in 1960 can still be seen in most small farm towns today at full blast. In this country, victims of human rights abuse still wear a black face. The rainbow is red with black blood. I got inspired by novel Invisible Man, where Ralph Ellison is exploring the idea of black invisibility in the world. How people don't see you as a human being. You are essentially invisible. So I thought, what could be the parallel in today's society of that kind of invisibility? That's when I got to look at the story of Mahlomola. That was a quote from Vice, a director and writer of the play. And this play that we are going to be looking at today, it was inspired by the murder of a 16-year-old Mahlomola Mushuwing, who was allegedly caught stealing sunflowers at the farm in Coligny, which is Northwest Province. The play explored the value of black lives, particularly in a small farming towns. The Red on the Rainbow stars the following actors: Barileng Tato Malebe, Dambuza Ngumashe, Tapelo Mohapi, Tsireletso Ngwane, Nkolile Kama, baza Nkolela ngoba bisa wrong amagama, who are supported by award-winning musicians in Sydney Mavundla and Voli Nchabeling. State of the Arts with Uthami Akambongo. Get to speak to the writer and director of the show, Uvice, and we get to understand more about the show. And then we are going to be watching the show. After the show, we are hoping to speak to some of the audience members to get a feel of their experience in the show. And then we will share our own thoughts about the production and share more about the production for you. So check this out. Let's go and have this interview with the writer and the director of the play, Obut Vice.
Hey man, when you say designed, it makes it sound like, I woke up one day and I was like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. It's not, I think it's a little more layered than that. the memory for me that I think I'm still attached to in terms of how I came to the theatre is of an event, a play I saw. It was in a place called Snake Park at next to the assembly. I had just moved from one school in Jewett Park into this school. It was the middle of the year. And during one of the assembly moments there, right there, spontaneously there was a performance of a play. And I had seen plays before, because the school I went to had a fairly decent hall where we'd seen plays. We'd also gone to Hillbrow Theatre to see plays. So I was familiar with the theatre. But this play, for some reason, it stung, it hit me so hard, like it felt like this thing was hyper real. It was like, it made life matter a little more than I felt it did before that moment. And after the performance, I went straight to Amachita, now who were performing this play, and I was like, gents, how do I join this thing? Because something had moved inside me, so something was shaken. And I think the same feeling that I had being in the audience is this kind of feeling that I'm still chasing when I make work. But it was that day that sent me into the theatre. And then I met a very beautiful brother, we called him Shileba, who took me under his wing. He was the director of this group, and he really, really took me under his wing. He taught me all he could, shared reading material with me, and it was from the stuff that he had given me to read that I started developing my own writing. My desire to write started from the things that he was giving me to read, and then I started sort of doing that, trying to match him, emulate him even, because it was I had been stung, like it was I couldn't not do it anymore. All my dreams of becoming an accountant and whatever else, they died. They died, on that day in that assembly platform. Yeah. I think the most significant thing that I can think of, outside of the fact that when you win anything, it's always joyful. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always a significance to being recognized for something. But outside of just that kind of joy, I think there are a lot of people who didn't even know I exist before that moment, who suddenly turned their gaze towards me because of that particular moment. There are opportunities that have come my way, because of that particular moment. And I think the most significant part of it for me, though, is that because I struggle with imposter syndrome, I guess. I'm never really satisfied with the things that I do. I never like my own work that much. I'm always in a state of doubt, about what I'm doing and whether it makes sense. Part of it is because I'm adventurous and I try to do things I've never seen. I try to, step outside of what I know into and propose new things to myself and to those who experience, my work. So it's always risky, and I'm always sort of uncertain of where my work lands. So there was in that moment an affirmation, something that I could sit with alone with myself and look at my work, my body of work, and say, I have actually put a significant amount of work out there. I think it is meaningful work. I think I've contributed to what we think of as South African theatre, now. And there was a satisfaction, I guess, that came with that recognition in that moment. Just in at least making the relationship I have with myself a little warmer. Yeah. I don't know if I knew it was the right time. I can't say I knew it was the right time, because when I started making it, when I started writing the play, it was a result of many other plays. I was invited to a workshop, in Berlin, where I was part of a group developing new work, and we were supposed to develop political work. I was invited there because my work has political undertones, and we were given a theme to work around, the idea of invisibility. What is it that invisibility in terms of how states or governments can render its people invisible, how a group in society can refuse to recognize another group of people in society. It stretched. It was just invisibility, and it could be interpreted in any other way. So over the period of a year, I wrote 6 to 7 different beginnings to plays, looking for the right one that would really feel right in my heart and in my body. And after all that moving around, I started thinking, someone, when I was much younger, an older artist said to me, I'd given him a play of mine to read, and in his reflection, he said to me, I thought it was a harsh thing to say, but he said it anyway. He said to me that I seem to like ideas much more than I like people, much more than I like human beings. And that was a very interesting thing to say. It was also, in a way, a turning point, because I wondered what that meant. And then I realized I work like that, I think like that. I begin from an idea space. I love ideas, really, but I don't think I like people less. But I think the fact that I start from ideas, my work is always pitching, it's always full of ideas in a way. So I struggled with locating the play that I wanted to write during that year, because I was occupying the idea space quite a lot, and they were very compelling ideas to me, but they're very difficult to translate into story, into a play. And so in the end, I started thinking about this thing that this artist had said to me, and I thought about where are the human beings that I'm drawn to? What are the things that I care about, that I'm moved by at a very basic human level? And how do those things relate to this idea of invisibility? And this is where I started thinking about Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, where he explores the idea of how the world refuses to see black people, refuses to really recognize us as human beings. So I thought, what could be a potential parallel of this kind of invisibility? How could I speak to it? And then I came to South Africa, and I don't remember how exactly I started thinking about Masho's story, but I started reading up on it again, because it had been nearly 3 years since the event when I went back to it. So I started reading up on it, watching documentaries, and it felt like small towns in South Africa are a place where apartheid is still being lived out, to its fullest, and really the black inhabitants of those towns are invisible, in many ways. So I was drawn to that. I visited many of these towns during my fieldwork days and that sort of thing. So I had experienced what it is like to be in that place as a black person. So I was drawing from that experience, and then that's when I began working with Monageng Vice story as a potential material for a new play. Yeah. I don't even know if I don't recognize the debate, because I don't think there's a debate to be had. I don't think this is the thing that needs to be solved through a negotiation and a conversation. In this country, we know what negotiations lead to, So we can't have another negotiation, another debate about what's the right thing to do with the land or what. We don't need all of that. I think we have been cornered as a people. Our own people have been used to put us in a corner, to disadvantage us in such a way that we've become cowards. Like we are afraid to act. I think the land question needs action, not philosophizing and debating. I think we don't have to debate. No, was it stolen? Was it not? Was it what? Was it what? It makes no sense that over 80% of land in this country is in the hands of people who came on a ship. So for me, it's not a debate. I think it's just we are afraid. It's ngamakoa. That's it. I mean, it's part of what I'm saying, that the post-94 rainbowism idea, is a fallacy. We all know it's a lie. We all know that only a few people really benefit from, the fruit of this supposed miracle that we are living under. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that if we think of this country as a rainbow nation of sorts, and we look at these small towns and how black life is meaningless, is worthless, in this country, then the color that seems to dominate this rainbow then is really the color of this blood, this redness, and therefore this idea of a rainbow is red with our blood, and it's blood that is yet to be avenged, but certainly this country is red with our blood. It's what I was just saying, that when we take a day like what used to be called Sharpeville Day and we call it Human Rights Day in an effort to equate, or rather claim that everyone is equal, that we are all humans who all have the same human rights challenges. It's a fallacy. We in this country, when you think of Sharpeville Day and how it was the level of the massacre that it was, the level of injustice that that day sort of represents, and you look to how many years has it been since 1961? Many years later, that when you live in those small towns, there's still a massacre. It's the level at which black people are being killed on farms and there's no justice, there's no recourse. When you look at all of that, you can see that I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, I'm saying the fallacy here is that, I lost my train of thought. I even lost the question you were asking now.
No, it's
No, please remind me of the thing again so that I can reframe, connect the dots.
And Richo, you were saying in this country, victims of human rights abuse.
Yes, blackface, yes, yeah. So basically, to claim that there are human rights abuses in this country that relate to white people is a fallacy. Because the human rights that are being abused, that have been abused since apartheid, since the beginnings of colonialism, the victims are us. It is our human rights that have been abused. So when we say that it's Human Rights Day, we are misdirecting it, because really, then we should just say that it's our rights that are being trampled on, that continue to be trampled on, not just in this country, but in the world in general. That really human rights abuse still wears a black face or a face of color. White people can claim to suffer human rights abuses in this country, but we know it's a fallacy. I think the most important reason for people to come here, first is to celebrate, creativity, to celebrate the power of the theater. Because what we are doing with this play is we are allowing ourselves to celebrate all the aspects of theater making by presenting a work that, in a way that can only be done in the theater. It is, it's a play that acknowledges that it is a play. It does not pretend to be anything but a play. So it really is at its heart a celebration of the theater as a medium, but also a place to celebrate aesthetics, African aesthetics, by drawing from the past in a very particular way, but also proposing things for the future. So the real reason would be to come and experience beauty in the theater, to experience theater used in a way that I believe is in a really meaningful and stretched out way. That it's not a lazy experience. So I think just for that, people should come to enjoy and experience this work. And then beyond that, of course, then there are conversations to be had about where this country is going, what is our responsibility in taking this country, where it needs to be going as a people. So there are those conversations to be had. But certainly, above all things, it's an experience of beauty in the theater, the beauty of storytelling. I mean, I think the 26 years, 28 now, 28 years have revealed to us that at the level of the government, there is no clear commitment to developing the arts in a meaningful way. And I don't believe that it's because the government is not aware of the power that the arts have. I think it's precisely because they are aware of the power of the arts. I think, we have a government that seems to enjoy using the arts for its purposes. So they enjoy art when it's propaganda that serves their interests. I think there seems to be there. That's why it's normal in this country to say to an artist, it's a regular warning that step away from the politics, because you'll starve. And I think it's because people have been starved, people have lost jobs, people have been threatened because they were saying something that doesn't make somebody who is in some position of so-called power, So of course, so there is that, as a frame. So because of all of that, but beyond all of that, I think my vision, my way of thinking about my personal responsibility is that mine is to add value and to contribute, both at the level of my work, the art that I do, is to make sure, to find ways to make sure that my work happens somewhere in whatever way or form. That is my responsibility. But also to connect to the idea that I'm not an artist, I'm not a creative person because there is an industry or because there is some idea of an industry. That has nothing to do with why I'm an artist. My impulse, my desire to be a creative person is far surpasses any of those ideas. And so my responsibility to myself is to protect this impulse, this need in my body to create and to find an outlet for it. No matter what the government is doing, no matter what who is doing, I have the responsibility to myself and my work to make sure that the things that I dream up, the fire that is in my body that wants an outlet, that I give it an outlet. And this is why I do all the little things that I do, in order to make sure that this flame inside my body is not switched off by any political muscle or whatever, So for me, the most important thing is then, what is my contribution to the making of this industry? My contribution is to make sure that my work happens in one way or another. That's my...
My name is Lisedi Job, and I just watched The Red on the Rainbow. I think people need to come and see this play because it is an exhibition of storytelling. We're constantly, as theatre makers, searching and seeking to find our voices and the best way that we can tell stories authentically as Africans. And this is definitely one of those shows that hits the nail on the head around an authenticity in storytelling as Africans, with an engagement with an audience, with playing I don't know how many different actors. I felt like there was a whole community on one stage, but there was about maybe 5 or 6 or 4 actors. can't even remember. You know, it's not about having a lead, but just a group of people that support one another, that just speak from a place of truth, that inhabit character in their bodies. It is beauty personified. Somebody shouted in the audience, that is theatre. This is a show that really is what theatre is in this country.
Sure, Zulu director, theatre and television. I just watched the show and it was absolutely amazing. I haven't been in the theatre for, I think, a couple of months, but years. Again, I figure now for like an exhibition, but I haven't watched a theatre show in years, and this was gripping. This was gripping. I really absolutely enjoyed the use of language. I really enjoyed the elements of storytelling. It reminded me of when I fell in love with the beautiful art form. We feel in mind, but I started out in theatre, and they showed in why and I can't wait to be back. Hopefully Nandi when you show in theatre soon. But yeah, so really watch it. It's a gripping piece of performance. It's a gripping piece of directing. Vice has just done Vice, and it's absolutely amazing. Please watch it.
This country, not a theatre audience necessarily, but people who care for this country, they must come see the show. I think it's the crux of what is important in this country right now. It speaks beautifully of pain. It dances beautifully between craft, writing, acting, and directing. I think Vice is finding his seminal point as a theatre maker. And I'm not just saying this because I just saw the show. Like, I read the draft and I've seen different versions of the show, and each time it renews my love for theatre. And I think for anything, what we need to come see the show for is the belief that whatever that's happening in our country, it's not unseen. And I think that's the overriding message for me from this play. It's not unseen. So come see the play, because you have to be part of the visual solution this play offers us.
Aha, as promised, Sugoti, we will give you our review of a show that we saw at Market Theatre. One, what I really enjoyed about this show, the first thing, you know, in theatre when they do the welcoming thing, they do it in English. And in this one, they were doing in African language. I was like, wow, this is a good start. You understand? Big up for not compromising language, vernacular. And two, I think the show, it's one of the best African storytelling. You know, when you watch a show and you feel good, the storytelling says Africa and Sikalelwa is Africa. And I want to salute the cast and the director for that. And then there's also great music, soundscape to the world of the play. It's amazing. Those two musicians are really taking the production into another level. And then there were very strong performances, very strong. I think the cast are well together. Yes, and a big up. In the first half, the ladies, they are taking the charge. And then the second half, the guys, they take it into another level. Very strong performances, I'm sure. We're looking for nominees. There's need with award is a choir. And then what I really enjoyed was unapologetic writing by Vice. In this production, Vice can hold anything back, and he's speaking the truth. We have Osana, the truth that we are scared to speak up about. I want to say salute Vice to that. And then another thing that I really enjoyed about this show, it was the simple but effective costumes. You know, when you do storytelling, some people want to transform and bring other different costumes, you understand, to show. In this one, you understand that the costume was simple but very effective, especially when it comes to a story. So salute to costume design and also the designer of the entire production. It was really amazing. And another thing that I like, great ensemble work. The cast, bibinigana, we understand, and you feel good, hey, no one is dropping the ball. And it's difficult in productions like that, whereby we understand that the other actor uniga ichu and then we bambe, and the energy yabo, it gels nice. Great casting, great banigana kamnandi yabo. And then another thing that I really liked, it was the very effectiveness, lighting. We understand every time lighting we state, when they stand, when they sit down, and it's not like you know, in other production, lighting bafuna clever, bafuna, it's simple. You understand that when the actors were doing a narration, sometimes you see their face, sometimes you're not, but you understand that it takes you into another world. So big up to people who were doing lighting for the show. I think for me, it's a powerful theater production. I don't want to lie. I always ask what makes a great theater production. Is it script in terms of the story? Is it performance in terms of acting? Is it presentation in terms of directing? Is it design? Is it the response of the audience? But for me, after watching this play, I would say, Yoguti, they've complemented everything. We understand in terms of the script, in terms of acting, in terms of directing, design, music, and everything. And for me, it's one of those plays that I would say it's a theater production full of heart and soul. You understand? When you watch that show, you understand, you won't say it was beautiful. You will say, I was moved. One thing that I'm like, I wish there could be more. The run is very short. I think it runs up until 1st of May, which is very short, you understand? And we've seen shows that run longer. I so wish and I pray market theater management will extend the run. These are the shows that must run for a very long in our theaters, you understand, so that we can see. And this particular play deserves to be taught around 9 provinces because it inspires, it does quite a lot of things. From me, Utama Kambong, salute to Vice and the crew, and salute to all the platform Ababesnikiwe for this particular show. As I said in the beginning, it was performed in the Soweto Theatre, Bloemfontein, Northern Cape, and I hope Uguti, other artistic director out there are watching. So to the audience, please make sure you go and watch this show. You won't regret it. Book now. And I'm sure it's going to be sold out because it's amazing, amazing theater. From me, Utama Kambongo, Umbuyiso Ngalezo Ndimo Sondiso Mvemnyama, Ozalwa Ngomanzana, Okumalo, Omtungwa, Omdleke, Ndithi Manibulele for watching State of the Art with Utami Akambongo. We will be going to different theater shows and start to review them and hear and have the interviews, the director, the creative team, sometimes with the cast, and then we hear the audience response and we bring it to you because we know Uguti Theater as a reviewisha. We understand that, and we are recording a history. From me, salute, Makubenjalo, Kamako.